Howdy y'all and welcome back. Magazine changes. Alright, look, if you have made the decision to carry a revolver for self-defense, may God have mercy on your soul if you ever need to reload it in a crisis situation. We're talking about magazine changes, semi-auto handguns, right? So the first thing we need to figure out is, are you carrying a spare magazine? Now, I'm not going to tell you you need to or that you don't need to. Sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. For me, it is situational. I live in an extremely safe suburb. When I do carry in my neighborhood, I carry a Glock 43X, no spare magazine. If I'm getting in the car and driving across town somewhere, across Houston, I go ahead and go with a sidecar rig. 15 extra rounds might maybe be something I need, right? So it's situational for me, and only you can make these decisions for yourself. But if you are not carrying a spare magazine, would it make a whole lot of sense to spend tons and tons of time drilling out your magazine changes, right? I mean, I know we all want to look, like sexy John Wick doing our, ninja stuff, but really, if you're a new gun owner, please spend 97% of your time practicing fundamentals. Grip, trigger press, presentation, sight picture, get those things locked in first before you even worry about magazine changes. All right, so two main techniques with sort of a bonus technique at the end here, and it's going to sound somewhat familiar to the malfunction clearing drills that we did in the last episode. So let's break out. We've got Glock 19, we've got empty magazine, the gun is safe and clear, and I'm going to stage this just in my pocket, right? So we have hit slide lock. This is going to be the most common method that I see taught, and it's going to be keeping the gun in our workspace. So I'm keeping my sight line to where I can see my threat, and briefly, as I drop the magazine and I come in, I am just briefly going to glance down and look the magazine into the magazine well, and then very, very quickly go back to focusing on the threat. It's a glance. It's just a quick glance in. When I pull out my magazine, I want to have my index finger up nice and high right here. That's going to help me guide that in. And obviously you want the bullets facing forward, right? So I'm going to come in, I'm keeping everything in my sight line, quick glance in, and drive out. That's going to be the most common way. And if you watch anybody shooting like competitive pistol, IDPA type stuff, that's the way you're going to see them do it almost all the time. Next, we have the Rob Pincus method, Personal Defense Network, ICE training. And that's going to be similar to the malfunction clearing that we talked about in the last episode of bringing it in and clearing your malfunction in close. The fatal flaw I made in that video is I looked down. I watched it on playback and I was like, oh, I looked down. The idea with this method is we want to stay threat focused. And in this case, we're here, slide lock. I'm going to drop my magazine, find my extra mag. I'm coming in and I'm doing this without ever taking my eyes off the threat. And in all fairness, I'm not great at this yet. Still working on it. Then we have a third method, which is sort of splitting the difference between the two. So that would be something like this, right? So I've hit slide lock. I'm coming down. I'm staying threat focused, but I can barely see what I'm doing out of my lower peripheral vision. So I'm actually looking straight ahead right now, but I can see this right here just enough that it makes me feel a lot more solid than doing it in here. So, and I'm going to look it in, and then same thing, drive out. This is actually the fastest method I've ever seen anybody do, is meeting right in the middle. And it kind of makes sense, right? I'm bringing the gun halfway to the magazine and meeting right here. I have just enough visual going on right here that it helps me be a little faster and smoother, but I'm actually staying threat focused the whole time. So practice all three or adopt the one that you want. Again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what to do, but work those out, see what feels best for you and what makes the most sense to you. All right, but again, if you're a new gun owner, please do not spend tons and tons of time on this. In real world scenarios, magazine changes don't come up that often. I know now somebody in the comments is going to be like, oh, my cousin's uncle's brother had to, whatever. I get it. It does come up sometimes. But generally, it's not super, super important. It's not nearly as important as good, solid shot placement. And when you're a new gun owner, that is what you need to be focusing on. Fundamentals. All right, y'all, that's all I got for this one. Until next time, be easy, y'all.